Hi everyone, welcome back to another video. Here I am sat in my creative corner tucked away in the Pennine Hills of Lancashire again in the UK, and today I'm sharing with you some flower illustrations that have become a bit of a go-to for me. Drawing and painting flowers is what got me started on my creative journey. So I wanted to share some of these simple flower illustrations that I do like to come back to time and time again to create in my watercolour journal. So these illustrations are really easy to put together, and there's limitless variations that you can make by drawing out slightly different petal shapes with different numbers of flowers and different placements of leaves. And that's before you even get started on the colouring choices. So we're not aiming for a really anatomically correct botanical representation here. We're aiming for a whimsical representation of a flower that the eye recognises as a flower shape. So I'm just starting off by sketching those flower shapes out in pencil first. And the really good thing is that in nature, flowers are imperfect, so our drawings don't have to be perfect either. And that for me really helps to take the pressure off and really helps me to enjoy the process of this kind of illustration. And that's why it's become a bit of a go-to for me for creative relaxation. I just think that when they're finished, they look really pretty when you're flipping through the pages in your art journal. So for this page in my watercolour journal, I've decided to split the page into four and create 4 individual flower illustrations on the page. And the way that you split your pages can actually give you more options for creating different looks in your journal, but using very similar illustrations and techniques. You know, just by splitting your pages into different numbers of sections each time, placing those sections in the page slightly differently will create a different look. So I'm starting here to paint in those flower shapes, starting with the petals. And my go-to colouring method is always an initial layer of watercolour, just because watercolour creates a magic all of its own. Wetting dry, wetting wet, glazing, colour bleeds and blooms. There's just so many different techniques which really switch up the look of your final illustration. I also like to add a little bit of coloured pencil to the outlines at the end, and even perhaps a little bit of ink for a finishing touch. So these illustrations are a great way of digging into all those different colour supplies that I, for one, am definitely obsessed with collecting. watercolour paints I'm using for these illustrations are Wallace and Seymour watercolours, and this range have some more unusual colours in the range, really vintage colours, some really soft muted tones, which really appeals to the kind of colour palette that I like to work with. So after putting that initial colour down from the Wallace and Seymour colours, I'm also adding a glaze layer of glitter using some glitter watercolours from the Art Spirits, which is an online Etsy shop, and she offers a number of different colours in this glitter watercolour, and it just adds a really nice sparkly effect to the top of your paints. You can't see it too much here because whilst those paints are wet, but I will show you a closer image at the end of the video. So as I finish an initial layer on all of those petal shapes, I'll then come back to some of the first flowers that I painted to put a little bit of colour in the centre of the flowers. And then I finish my watercolour layer by adding in the leaf colours. So for the final flower, the daisy type flower, I want a little bit of a bolder colour and a little bit of shimmer. So I'm using this Nuvo glitter marker just to add that little bit of detail. And now it's onto the coloured pencil for some of those outlines. Now, when I'm adding these coloured pencil details, you'll see that I don't completely trace the outline. You know, I don't have one solid bold line all the way around. I use a bit of a skippy line, so that means that as I'm placing down that colour, I will miss parts of the line. And I really like how this little finishing detail pulls together the illustration and gives that perfectly imperfect finish to the final drawing. And I do like to add a little bit of shimmer to my drawings. So here I'm using some Sennelier silver ink with my dip pen. And again, I'll just add some lines to parts of these illustrations. So that's my illustrations complete, and here you can see a little bit closer some of the shimmery details. So you can see that layer of glitter that I put on as a glaze, and then some of the sparkle in the markers and the inks. I hope that you've enjoyed seeing my process with those simple illustrations, and I do hope that you'll give it a go. I would love to see that on social media, so if you do, please tag me. If you've enjoyed the video, please do give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. And until next time, wishing you a happy creative week. Bye.